And we're back in King Shahryar's court, where Shirazadad is about to begin another tale to hold the dawn at bay. This is the 8th night, and we're picking up right where we left off, with a visiting king who stumbled into a palace of secrets, and at its very heart, a prince suffering under a curse almost too horrible to imagine. So inside this palace just filled with sorrow, the visiting king finds the source of all the despair. A young prince, literally frozen in a living nightmare, trapped inside his own body. And after years of just agonizing silence, the prince is finally ready to speak. He's about to reveal the story of how he became half man, half stone. You know, as the enchanted prince starts his story, you can just feel the air get heavy. This isn't just some story about heartbreak. No, this is a tale of shocking betrayal, of a love so twisted it turned into pure, raw hatred, and of a revenge cooked up in the darkest corners of magic. The prince's story kicks off at the exact moment his world completely shattered. He followed his wife one night into a hidden dome, and there, he discovered her with her lover, a slave. In the darkness, just blinded by a rage that completely took him over, he drew his sword and struck the man down. He was sure the blow was fatal. He thought it was over. But the slave didn't die, and as the prince was about to find out, his wife's betrayal, well, it was only just getting started. Her ability to deceive was way, way beyond anything he could have ever imagined. For a whole year, the prince was basically a prisoner in his own palace, forced to watch this crazy, elaborate lie. His wife puts on this whole show pretending to be a grieving widow for a tragedy she just made up, and all the while, she's secretly building this shrine to her lover, nursing the very man who betrayed the prince in his own kingdom. Finally, the prince just couldn't take it anymore. One day, he goes into her house of sorrows and he confronts her, sword-drawn, totally ready to end this whole charade for good. But this is where everything takes a terrifying turn. Realizing that it was her husband who wounded her lover, the wife drops all pretense. She wasn't just an unfaithful wife. She was a powerful sorceress. And with words that just crackled with dark energy, she unleashes this horrible curse. And the curse hit him instantly. From his waist down, his body turned to cold, hard stone. It trapped him in this state of living death, just pure agony, with absolutely no hope of escape. But her revenge didn't stop with him. Oh, no. In her rage, she cursed his entire kingdom. The 4 peoples of his city, the Muslims, the Magians, the Christians, and the Jews, she transformed all of them into fish of 4 different colors. And his 4 islands? They became 4 barren mountains, all surrounding this now enchanted lake. And as if that wasn't enough, to make his suffering even worse, every single day, without fail, she would come to him, strip him, and whip his living flesh with a leather scourge 100 times, leaving him bleeding and helpless in his own stone prison. So after hearing this absolutely horrific story, the visiting king isn't filled with fear. He's filled with this burning desire for justice. He makes a vow to the enchanted prince. He will not rest until he has delivered him from this waking nightmare. But how? I mean, a straight-up fight with a sorceress this powerful? That's just suicide. The king realizes he can't win with brute force. He needs a plan that's just as cunning and just as cruel as the sorceress herself. And his plan is just brilliant in how bold it is. He's not going to fight her as an enemy king. No, he's going to deceive her by becoming the one thing she actually loves. He's going to use her own twisted affection to be her downfall. So, as night falls, the king puts his super dangerous plan into motion. He slips into the dome, finds the helpless slave, and with one clean stroke of his sword, he finishes the job the prince started. He hides the body, takes the slave's place there in the darkness, and he waits, his own sword ready right beside him. And right on schedule, the sorceress shows up. She does her daily cruel ritual, whipping her husband, the enchanted prince. Then, carrying a cup of wine and a bowl of broth, she heads down into the tomb, totally unaware of the trap that's waiting for her. She calls out to her lover, begging him to speak. And from the darkness, the king answers. He muffles his voice, he imitates the slave's accent, and he just groans weakly, like he's in terrible pain. Just the sound of his voice, after a whole year of silence, sends her into a complete frenzy of joy. She nearly faints from happiness. When she pulls herself together, she desperately asks him, "Why have you been silent for so long?" And the king? He's ready with the masterpiece of his deception. It is a perfect moment of poetic justice. He turns her own cruelty into the weapon that's going to undo her. He tells her that the cries of her tortured husband, the very sounds she enjoyed every day, have been keeping him from getting better. The prince's suffering, he says, is the only reason he's been silent. Well, she's so desperate, so blinded by the hope of finally healing her lover, she doesn't even hesitate. She rushes out of the tomb, grabs a bowl of water, and speaks a powerful counterspell. As she sprinkles the water on the prince, the stone just melts away, and the young man stands up, whole and free, for the first time in years. So after she sends the now freed prince away, she hurries back to the tomb, eager for her reward. But the king, still hidden in the dark, pushes the lie even further. The work, he tells her, is only half done. You've dealt with the branch, he says, but the root of the problem is still there. The root? What's the root? He tells her it's the enchanted fish in the lake. He explains that every single night, the cursed souls of the city's people, they rise up and they curse both of them. And that, he says, is what's truly stopping his recovery. To heal him completely, she has to reverse that curse too. She is overjoyed, completely convinced. She says she'll do it at once. On my head and my eyes, she promises, believing her lover will finally be hers. She runs from the tomb and races toward the enchanted lake, ready to undo every last bit of her evil work. But right at this moment of triumph, right as the king's plan is about to come together, Scheherazade sees the first rays of dawn breaking through the window. And, as she always does, she falls silent, leaving the story hanging at its most critical moment. And just like that, King Shahryar is left in suspense, and so are we. The sorceress is at her most vulnerable, completely fooled. The king is waiting in the darkness with a drawn sword. What on earth is going to happen when she gets back to that tomb? Well, we're going to have to wait for the 9th night to find out.